Hello, podcast time. Let's go.
I'm
Can you
just
hear me now,
launching my...
Casper? Can you hear
Yeah, I
me? Is
can
it
hear you
fine?
now.
Okay, cool.
I'm just
You're very
launch...
quiet my end, but I don't think there's much we can do about that. Because you can't really turn the gain up on your microphone, which is weird.
No, it's fine on my end. Like, I recorded a video with it the other day and it was fine.
Yeah, you're on 200% for me. Um, it's all right. We'll work with it. So, Casper, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm about to go live because I forgot to press go live.
Oh, well.
Oh, wait, do I need to record?
Yeah, no, you don't need to record.
Are we on episode 19?
Episode 19, yeah.
Yeah. And go live. There we go. Now I'm live, I think. I'm
Can you
live.
move your face closer to
Yeah.
the microphone? Because I really can't
go.
hear you.
Yeah, I can't move any closer than this at all.
Okay.
I also need to keep myself in frame as well.
Yeah, there's that.
So I need to move across and back a little bit. There we go. Yeah,
Woo! Dojo Hype. Hello, Atomic. Nice to see you in chat. I appreciate you coming along. We're just sort of opening the podcast with a couple of technical difficulties, but I think we're all good now.
Yeah.
So, what has happened this week? Right, I'm going to launch straight into my gaming news of the week because some very exciting stuff happened over in the Resident Evil section of the world. So Resident Evil 8's come out. I won't spoil anything of the game here. I have played it through on stream and said what I thought about it during that. But don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the story or anything. But I will say that it's very, very good. If you do want to pick it up, do so. I would recommend it. I've never really played many of the Resident Evil games, but you don't really need to in order to understand this game and understand everything that's going on. Resident Evil 7, it's a sequel to Resident Evil 7, so you may need to have either played that one or at least know something about the story from that one. If you want to avoid spoilers for that one, maybe play that one first. But overall, very, very good game, and I definitely recommend you check it out. I've always been a fan of Resident Evil in the sense of, like, I like the horror and I like the design, but I've never actually played many of them until the Resident Evil 2 remake came out. I think I played the remastered version of the first one, which was a good time. And Resident Evil 2 remake was exceptional, honestly. I really, really enjoyed that. But yeah, I've just never been too into them, but I can see why people are. They all seem to have the same kind of feel to them in terms of like the long puzzle solving and things like that over time, which has just been really good. But yes, definitely, if you want to see, if you want deeper thoughts of mine into what I thought about Resident Evil and stuff, then it's all up on the archive, for my Twitch, or on my Twitch itself for the next 2 weeks. It will be as well. So do go check that out, and definitely I would recommend the game. And yeah, that's a pretty good time, and the tall lady that the internet was thirsting for this entire time, is in it, and she's amazing and very, very scary, and I love that. We love strong women, even if they're villains and want to step on you.
Hopefully, she will be in Dead by Daylight soon.
Oh yeah, so there's going to be a Dead by Daylight crossover, isn't there?
Yeah.
With
when does that come out? Actually,
with Resident Evil. I think it'll either be Lady Dimitrescu, or it'll be the Nemesis. That's his name, the guy from Resident Evil 2. Because basically, there's this character, and he just follows you everywhere. And he's immortal. You can't kill him. You can't do anything to fight him at all. And he's in Resident Evil 2, and he's just immortal and does a lot of damage, and he just follows you around consistently all the time. And he's just got big stomping footsteps, and you, like, all you can either do really is hide from him and run from him. You can stun him by shooting him in the head, but that's about it.
It is coming out on May the 25th, and we still do not know who the killer is.
Is it going to be a killer and a survivor?
I assume so. They usually put a survivor in as well, don't they?
Yeah. Like, realistically, the survivor's either going to be... Oh, fuck, I'm getting raided. Hello. Eep Incorporated, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Come along to the podcast. Feel free to add to the discussion at any point. It's a discussive podcast, and it's why we're here. It's just a chill way to spend Wednesday evening. But thank you so much for that, Epin, and yeah, man. So yeah, there's going to be a Dead by Daylight crossover with Resident Evil, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know enough about Resident Evil to really comment.
They could release 2 like they did with the Stranger Things one, and they released 2 with the Trickster.
Recently. With 2 survivors or 2 killers?
2 survivors.
2 survivors. Maybe. That would make sense, actually, because the most iconic duo I see a lot of the time... I mean, it's either, like if you want to talk about like Resident Evil characters that people immediately think of, and I'm someone who's never really played much Resident Evil, so you know, like, but these are the characters I still think of when I hear it. I think of Jill Valentine, and Leon, because Leon's basically been the poster boy for Resident Evil for such a long time that I find it hard to believe that there's going to be that there would be any kind of crossover with him in another with Resident Evil, another game that doesn't have him in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Jill's quite been the poster girl. Anyone in my chat can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
I honestly know nothing about Resident Evil.
They're good.
Haven't even seen the films, I don't think.
The films are a whole other level of shite.
I've been told that the films are okay and that they're better than other video game movies, but that isn't saying much. Although
apparently Resident Evil 5 and 6 are not very good games, and every Resident Evil fan that I've spoken to seems to agree that 5 and 6 are not very good games. But also every Resident Evil fan I've ever spoken to has also agreed that every single version of any movie to do with Resident Evil is by far worse than any video game in the series.
Yeah.
They're garbage. They're garbage movies. Even as someone who's never really played Resident Evil, I can say that they are terrible, terrible films.
On the subject of video game movies, the Mortal Kombat remake comes out. I don't know whether it's a remake or a new one.
It's out already.
It's not out yet. Cinemas aren't open over here until the 17th.
People have watched it. I watched the Manta the Jedi's review of it.
Yeah, I think it came out in America and Canada. Because their cinemas haven't ever closed, I don't think.
No, sounds about right.
People are saying that that's really good, but I've seen a lot of people saying that they think people only think it's good because we haven't seen a new film for so long. Like, it's one of those, anything that I watch at the cinema will be good because it will be the first film I have seen at the cinema for over 6 months. So I will enjoy it no matter what it is. And a lot of people are saying that that's the case with Mortal Kombat, and it is not actually very good. So I'm quite excited to see that because I like Mortal Kombat. I've played Mortal Kombat for pretty much my entire life. I'm not very good at it, but I don't.
Yeah, I even played it with you at one point. It's one of the few games you've actually managed to beat me on because I don't get it.
I am ridiculously really good at it because it is essentially a memory game.
Yeah.
If you remember the combinations, and I've been playing it since I was knee high, and my dad had the original Xbox. And the combinations never really changed that much. So
I can't imagine.
Quite good at it. I'd say it's
yeah,
for the
like
same
I think
reason
the
I'm
only
good
thing
at
that
Smash
really
Bros.
changed, the only thing that really changes about Mortal Kombat that I can see is the graphics. Like
Finishing move,
and how
the
graphic they are with their kills and stuff.
how graphic the finishing move art
Yeah.
is always changes, and the finishing move changes because they like to one up themselves with the gore and stuff. I've not played the most recent one because it's ridiculously expensive, and I'd hardly ever play it on my own. It's one that I'll play if I've got a friend round or if I'm at a friend's house or something, but I won't play through the story alone.
Yeah.
Because the story of those sorts of games are shite. I'm sorry to any Mortal Kombat fans, but I've played a lot of them.
I mean, no one plays. I don't think there's
Um,
anyone who plays Mortal Kombat for the story.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
I
is
don't.
why, because the stories are so shite and the storylines are so shite, I'm curious to see whether this Mortal Kombat movie is actually any good. Because they don't put effort into the game storyline, so I bloody hope it goes into these movies.
I mean, it'll be a different set of people, though, won't it? Who do the movies versus the games? To be fair,
I assume so. I've not really looked into it because anything to do with looking into the cinema at the moment has just made me sad for such a long time. So I've just not looked at any releases. Although I would like to go and see some of the Oscars, some of the films that have won the Oscars in the cinema because they'll be released as soon as they open.
Yeah.
I'd
We
like
watched
to see,
Nomadland.
I would very much like
which
to
is
see the Sound of Metal
one of
in a
the
cinema.
winners of the Oscars.
Nomadland won Best Picture. And I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it.
I would like to go and see the Sound of Metal, especially in a cinema.
Yeah.
If they do it in IMAX, I will happily pay more.
I would have liked to see it in the cinema in the first place, but it's just not a movie that inspires me to watch it more than once. It's a good film.
I'm just interested in the sound design. I think the film as a whole, they should have stuck to the true story that it's based off.
It's not based off a true story, though, isn't it? We looked it up, and
it's based off a mockumentary.
It's based off a mockumentary.
It's based off a mockumentary that I thought.
If anyone
was
doesn't know what we're talking about, basically, there's a movie called The Sound of Metal where a guy loses his hearing, but he's a drummer, and it's about him coming to terms with losing his hearing, and it's very interesting. The sound design in it is very good.
The sound design is very beautiful.
We thought it was based off a true person who has actually learnt to still play the drums even though they're deaf. However, we looked it up, and apparently that was like a mockumentary. There are people who can do that though, because you can learn to basically just do what you knew how to anyway, because it's just muscle memory, and you learn it with and you just listen to the vibrations. What are we talking about here, Dagon? We're talking. Thank you for that. We're talking about We are talking about fuck. I got distracted because my fuck sound alert was triggered.
Films that will be out in the cinema when they.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about Sound of Metal, which was very good. But talking of films that are going to be out soon, A Quiet Place Part 2 comes out on June 3rd.
Finally out on June 3rd. We are unfortunately going to a gig with my friend from Manchester.
I thought the plan was to go to the cinema are we going to Manchester to see the gig?
No, Beans on Toast is in Brighton. So
oh, is it? Well, then we just go to the cinema in Brighton beforehand.
Yeah, we can go to cinema beforehand with Molly.
I'll make sure to worst, like we can just go another day. It's not going to be that difficult. To be honest, going on the day it comes out, it's probably going to be quite a bad thing to do.
Especially with social distancing, because
A Quiet Place Part 2 was due to come out literally as lockdown started. And as it started, and they just held out. They were just like, you know what? Nah.
And I've also been waiting I've been waiting for that film for a year, and they announced it straight after the first one came out. So whenever the first one came out, I forgot what year it is. Plus a year I've been waiting for it. It's ridiculous.
I try not to have expectations with movies and stuff, but they've had an extra year beyond the year where they were going to release it. So
Yeah.
if they haven't worked out any kinks they had with the movie when it was going to come out last time, I'm going to be very disappointed because I'm expecting A Quiet Place Part 2 to be absolutely exceptional.
I'm expecting it to be life-changing.
Legit. Like,
I haven't
you've
even
got an
watched the
extra
trailer for
year
it.
to work on your movie that you didn't expect to have. I expect it to be an incredible film. And, you know, if they fuck it up, I'm going to be so annoyed.
All of the trailers have come out for it, but I haven't watched any of them, so I'm not sure whether it's about the same character or different
It is the
character.
same character as
Or
in
a
the
different...
first
Oh,
one,
for
yeah.
fuck's sake. I wanted it set in England. Because we don't have guns. It'd be quite interesting.
I mean, either it'd be quite interesting or it'd be really fucking boring.
Yeah. But, yeah, I really love A Quiet Place. And it's great because, unlike The Sound of Metal, they got a deaf actor in to play the little girl and taught everybody American Sign Language. And we love inclusion in the film industry. It's so rarely done. Like, we expect the bare minimum with inclusion.
I'm wary of congratulating people for doing the very minimum. Petty Wop, thank you for the lurk.
Yeah.
I'm wary of congratulating people for doing the bare minimum these days because it's just like,
Well, obviously, it's the obvious thing to do.
I want to be able to look at this kind of thing and just without blinking and be like, oh yeah, they did that. But
Yeah.
hold on, I just got a donation of 10 bits. Thank you, Petty, for the donation of 10 bits. I really appreciate that. And thank you for coming along as well. And if anyone in my chat or in the YouTube comments in the future does want to add to the discussion of whatever we talk about today, feel free. It's a podcast where we do like to just talk about whatever, and that does include anything that's brought up in chat or comments. So yeah, where was it going?
We were saying that we shouldn't congratulate
exactly
filmmakers and rich people for doing the bare minimum. It's like when we say, oh my god, Russell T Davies actually had a survivor of the AIDS crisis and it's a sin. Why is that an oh my god thing? That should just be expected.
Yeah, even I can kind of sometimes it can be annoying, but if there's someone that say there's a very famous celebrity that you have the opportunity to work with, but you want to write a movie about say a trans character, you want to write a movie about a trans character, and you have the opportunity to work with an incredibly famous person for your movie, but they're not trans. You need that person to be the main character, really. Well, no, because this is what your movie is about. But before you interrupt me again, Casper, what I'm trying to say is, if that kind of situation comes along, which I can kind of understand, at least have a trans person on set who you consult about the character.
Yeah.
Have actual trans people in the movie. Have actual trans people in the cast, etc. Because I do understand occasionally if you have the opportunity to work with someone really famous that will be really good for the movie, but you need to give them the main part, and that your movie just happens to be about something that person isn't. I can understand needing or wanting to cast that person for the main role, but you should definitely include people. And doing the bare minimum doesn't necessarily deserve congratulations. But I would like to congratulate Moot Salsa for following me. Thank you very much for that. Wow. I appreciate you.
It's just like if you're gonna write, let's use trans as an example. Still, if you're gonna write a movie about a trans person, then I like, it's a funny one because I am like, yes, trans people should play cis people. Because that's what acting is. You're meant to play someone who isn't yourself.
I mean, I think the different argument for that is that there are less trans people, so them playing cis people isn't necessarily a isn't a
Like,
isn't as big as a thing. But when you've got a handful of trans actors in the world, and then you've got some cis actors taking their roles.
yeah,
Obviously,
it
I have said, like, you know, there can be exceptions to that if it's good for your movie and you want to try and make the right choices, of course. But
and
if you are taking the role away from another trans person, you've got to consider if it's worth it. And there are less trans actors, which means you should give them more trans parts.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
And and if you have someone who knows what the character will be feeling and understands the character's journey,
mm.
which is a very cheesy phrase in terms of trans people, but with anything, if you have someone who's lived through that character's experiences, you will have a better performance, because
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. On my film that we're handing in next week, the guy who wrote the script, um, 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 was also our main actor. We got a better performance out of him because he knew the character inside and out. He was based on himself. That
yeah.
that that than 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 we would have ever got with an actor that we brought from outside of
Yeah,
our group.
exactly. Because you can explain what's going through your head as a writer or a director as much as you possibly can, and people just not get it.
Yeah,
And there can also be
yeah, like
like I understand that there's also directors who don't know how to explain what's going on in their head. That's a
yeah.
whole other thing. I think
That is exactly why I will never direct, because I
that's
know that
exactly why I think I
like
could direct. I think I definitely don't plan really on getting into film and TV so much that I ever really work on a project, to be honest, because I'm pretty set on just making my own content online at this point. But if I was to ever direct anything, I think I would be quite good at it because if I've got an image in my head, I can explain it and I can push it, and
yeah,
I know that there are people I know that there are people who can do that, and when they do that, and everyone works together and everyone manages to sort of get the same idea going on, it makes beautiful things. My favorite example of this I'm thinking in my head right now is Alien. I think Alien is definitely a masterpiece of a movie.
yeah.
And I think Ridley Scott, all the writers, all the costume designers,
The production design
actors, the production, the
on
sets,
Alien was
all of it.
beautiful.
Yeah, all of
Like,
it. I think they all came together and had the exact same vision of exactly what should happen, and they managed to create something absolutely incredible.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. What are some of your? Because you're a film student, Casper. For those that don't know, what
I
are some of your masterpiece movies? Because mine is definitely Alien and Aliens. I think those are
I
masterpiece movies, and Lord
not
of the
to sound
Rings. But what about you?
stereotypical, but 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 Wes Anderson is a god amongst men. Like
I may have to look this person up. Do you
like
want to explain
any
who Wes Anderson is for people like me who might not necessarily
he
know?
did the Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic
Ah,
Mr. Fox and Moonrise
ah.
Kingdom, which Moonrise
Fantastic
Kingdom
Mr. Fox was
is
incredible.
I haven't seen it. I've seen every other film he's done. I've also
Really?
not seen Isle of Dogs yet.
Fantastic
I've
Mr.
not seen
Fox is
Fantastic Mr.
amazing.
Fox, and I've not seen Isle of Dogs, which is also animated in the same
Isle
style
of Dogs
as.
is incredibly, brutally sad. Um.
Yeah,
Oh no, it's
I've
not.
been
No,
told.
Casper, we have watched Isle of Dogs together.
I
I
don't
believe.
think I have.
No, we have watched Isle of Dogs together.
Oh,
Um,
maybe it can't be
I'm
that good because I
fairly
don't fucking
confident we
remember
have.
it. But
But Isle of Dogs, yes, fantastic, and Fantastic
but
Mr. Fox is
I've
also
not seen
fantastic.
Fantastic Mr. Fox
Believe it or not.
because I was scared of the book when I was a child. I was terrified of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was absolutely terrified, and I've heard from a lot of friends and family that it is quite a scary depiction of it.
It is.
So
Well, it's anime.
I've just
It's remember when we watched was it called Gone Home or something? That Korean horror series. And the all the monsters in it, the animation for them was done in this sort of almost clay motion kind of thing, where they were very jerky and twisty, like they're being like animated frame by frame. And that kind of animation is what's also used in Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I find that kind of animation
Fox is claymation.
Is it actually claymation? Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah,
I think so.
Because it's puppets. I don't think it's claymation. I think it's puppets.
But
yes,
yeah.
That kind of jerky motion, it creates a sense of unpredictability and nervousness that you don't really experience when something's fully animated. Like, you could show me a horror movie with a really well designed monster, but it just moves too fast, or it moves too it flows too much. It's not clunky and jerky and weird. The most creepiest things I've seen in horror really are the things that move unpredictably. Like, I was playing Resident Evil 8, and the fact that I'm not saying any spoilers here, by the way. I'm just talking a bit about how the enemies are animated. They sort of stumble at you, and they jerk their heads around, and then the way they move their weapons and stuff around as they're slowly lumbering towards you makes them so much harder to hit, because you need to really shoot them in the head to do any real damage. And that is terrifying. It makes every encounter in that kind of game really scary, because you don't know where they're going to be next. And it's good. It's cool. But I definitely see why that makes you scared of Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing.
I think it's mostly just because I was so scared of the book when I was a kid that I was petrified of it. But Moonrise Kingdom is my favorite Wes Anderson film.
Moonrise Kingdom. I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's about a little boy who goes to a scout camp called Moonrise Kingdom.
Moonrise.
And he goes on a wander because he's being bullied. And he meets this girl who lives in a really big posh house nearby and falls in love with her. And it's just a love story, and it's just really sweet and beautiful. It's beautifully shot. There's a Wes Anderson pan, it is called, is the actual term.
Yeah.
The opening shot, I think it's like 5 minutes long or something. It's all done in one take. With
I love
a load
those.
of kids, with a load of kids dressed up as scouts, so it was really difficult because it was loads of kids.
Thank you for the alert, Savage.
But it's just really beautiful, and there's something really nice about the colours that Wes Anderson uses as well. Like, the colour palettes are always so bright and childish.
They are. I looked him up. His color palette as a person is also very bright. Like, if you look up Wes Anderson, look at the clothes he wears.
He's an odd-looking bloke.
He is very odd-looking. His eyes kind of scare me. But yes, his color palette as a person, the way he dresses, is exactly the same as the movies he's directed as well. They're all very colorful, but like very bright colors. Usually a lot of reds or a lot of pinks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of pink. And in Moonrise
nice.
Kingdom, there's a lot of yellow because of the scout uniform.
And Grand Budapest Hotel's pink as well.
Yeah, I just think the colour palette, his use of colour and his use of sound. I watched a video called Wes Anderson's Beautiful Sound Design or something. It was done by I think it was Every Frame and Painting, but it was a big famous YouTuber who does film reviews and analytical film reviews.
Oh.
because I have been researching for my portfolio for my short film. I've written about the sound designer in Jojo Rabbit, which is another and Taika Waititi is also one of my favorite directors. He's probably my favorite. He's probably higher up than Wes Anderson, just because he's bloody insane. Like,
so what's the short answer to the question? Anyway, hey Slothy, welcome to the chat. What's your short answer to the question anyway? Which was, what movie do you consider to be a masterpiece of a film? Like, if you were to just give me a movie title, what would it be?
Immediately, my brain goes Stand By Me, but that's just because I'm a film nerd and I have a love for 80s cinema. Like,
I think I've seen Stand By Me.
You've watched Stand By Me with me. It's got River Phoenix in it.
Oh,
it's about
yeah,
boys who find a dead body on the train tracks, and the whole movie is just them going on a walk, and it's just so beautiful and sad.
Thank you for the lurk, Patty. Hello, Quinn Up Girl. How are you? I hope you have a good time. Uncultured Sloth is in my chat, and she says that she's a sucker for Moulin Rouge, which I think is very.
Same.
I do really like that one.
Moulin Rouge is so good.
How do you pronounce it? Because I go Moulin Rouge. Well, how did you say it?
It's Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge. I go Moulin Rouge. That's how my brain reads it immediately.
I used to have that on DVD when I was a teenager. I'm showing my age here. And me and Molly used to watch it every weekend at sleepovers at her house.
Yeah.
When we were,
I haven't watched it that many times.
We must have been about 12.
It.
Like, the version where they sing Elton John at the end, is that the one?
Is that? Hold on, that's Ewan McGregor. No, I didn't know he was. I haven't watched. For clarification, I haven't watched this movie in a while. Hey, Kronos, welcome
I've
to the
not
chat.
watched it since I was about 13, but I used to love that movie. That and
Moulin Rouge. Is that how you go with it?
Is it? I thought it was Mulan.
No, that's.
Well, maybe I'm just thinking
Slothy
Mulan,
in my
like...
chat is saying that she pronounces it Moulin Rouge. Although, actually, my brain goes to pronounce that last word as rogue because of D&D.
Yeah.
So really, my brain's immediate thought is Moulin Rogue.
It's got an umlaut over one of the letters on it, I think.
I've seen that movie at least 300 times,
same,
says Slothy.
Same,
also, it's kind of what made me buy/pan. That's interesting.
Honestly, same. I think I watched it.
What is there? What is there? Is there like a single piece of media that you can really link back? Like, well, maybe there's not a single piece, but there's got to be. Is there a piece of media for you, Casper, that you can sort of look back on and be like, so that's why I'm bisexual?
Yeah. Do you know? Have you seen the 2000s version of Romeo and Juliet? Slothy will have seen it if she likes Moulin Rouge, I bet.
Wait, is that the one with
Leonardo DiCaprio in it?
Yeah.
I
had to study that fucking movie in high school.
Same. I loved it. That was a pivotal point in me working out my sexuality, honestly.
Yeah.
Just that film and that age, like it. But I rewatched it like not last year, the year after, I think, and it's not as good as I remember.
For me, it's weirdly.
I remember it being amazing.
For me, the thing that links all of the things I am in terms of like relationship wise and sexuality wise, because I am bisexual and polyamorous. For those that don't know, and the thing that I can link back to as a childhood movie that could necessarily be the reason for all of it is The Road to El Dorado, which is
we watched that.
We watched it together because I got really a couple of months back I was just looking at it like, hold on, these characters are all so obviously in love with each other, and two of them are men and one of them's a woman, and they just have this whole throuple dynamic going on, and I'm just there like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Um,
My either that or Doctor Who. Honestly, Billy Piper was one of my first.
Oh yeah,
first
Doctor Who definitely.
non-male
I feel like
crushes.
David Tennant as the Doctor was one of my first male crushes, 100%.
And I watched
And
Diary
Billy
of a
Piper
Call
was
Girl as
definitely
well,
one of my
actually.
first female crushes, so I can
And
definitely link
Diary
that.
of a Call Girl was very good as well. That's
So
the
for
same
those
sort
that
of
don't know, The Road to El
era.
Dorado is a DreamWorks
Disney
2000. No, it's DreamWorks. Year 2000 animated adventure musical.
In the same style as The Emperor's New Groove.
Exactly, yes. And
Although The
just
Emperor's
that
New Groove
Tulia
isn't
and
good.
Miguel, they're never explicitly said to be in a relationship or anything, but they just act so in love with each other. They act like they've been in a relationship for a very, very long time.
They act
And
like
then they
they're
meet
married.
they meet this woman who they both kind of fall in love with, but only one of them is ever shown to have any kind of real relationship with her. But the way they all act with each other is definitely like a poly dynamic. In terms of like they come to terms with jealousy, they face it as part of their story arc and things and stuff. Queen Up Girl, thank you for the lurk. Sorry, I'm getting some messages through. Should we because it's a discussive podcast, me and Casper talk to each other. I don't want to talk over him, so I'll have to come back to messages, I'm afraid. But thank you for sending some in. So let me scroll back up here because we've got a few. The first time seeing it was seeing what was that? Is Rent a
Moulin
movie?
Rouge. Oh, Rent is a movie. Yeah,
What's that? What's that one about?
I have never seen the movie though. I've only watched a stage show.
Slothy's saying that the first time she saw the movie Rent was in her high school's gay straight alliance, which I'm guessing is a
Gay straight
club.
alliance is a thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
I'm guessing it's a sort of a club where gay people and straight people can come
my
together.
school set up an LGBT alliance after I left because I was bullied so much. They set up a gay straight alliance because me and my gay mate were bullied so much for being gay.
Wow. Yeah, there's an LGBT alliance in your uni, isn't there?
It's not an alliance, it's a society.
Yeah. Queen Up Girl, thank you for the lurk. Yes, El Dorado was amazing. We've got some love for Tennant and Billy Piper and El Dorado in the chat right now, which is nice.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Billy Piper is actually one of my favourite actresses, I think. I never really give her credit because I always kind of forget that she exists, to be honest. But she's a very good actress. She's good in everything. Like in The Diary of a Call Girl, she was good in that, but I was way too young to be watching it.
Thank you for the lurk, Slothy. You don't know what Rent is? Yeah, no, I've never seen it. Neither has Casper.
It's a musical.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah,
we've got to be fair, it's totally valid to have a platonic bromance. Oh, 100%. I definitely agree with that. It's just how they interact with each other, like Julie and Miguel in El Dorado, and then how they interact with Shell in El Dorado as well. It's just so in love. And it could be, it's definitely, like, I'm sure the image that they were going for, because it's DreamWorks and it was the early 2000s, was definitely, I'm sure the image they were going for was definitely, they're just bros, and, you know, this relationship Chell has with them is monogamous with only one of them. But watching it, knowing that I'm bisexual and poly now, I just see so much of myself and other people within the poly LGBT community within it that I'm just like, yeah. And there's an entire fucking, like, I made a meme once. The most interaction I have ever got on anything, right, is a throwaway meme I made on Facebook. This has had more likes, more shares, more anything than any other piece of content I have put out on the internet. And it was just an El Dorado meme.
Transphobia.
It was just an El Dorado meme that said something that was just like, it essentially conveyed the message like, being bisexual and polyamorous as an adult is comes from El Dorado, and the fact that so many people related to that really makes me really makes me feel like it had a very similar impact on a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with the gay vibes from El Dorado. However, that's only because I've had platonic romances at that level, and people are asking, "Are you sure you're not gay?" That's fair enough. I completely
To
understand
be
that.
fair, yep,
I get
yep.
those vibes because maybe I just ship the characters. Like that can be a thing. But obviously, it's not fair to ship real people.
Yeah,
Of course,
I
and it's definitely good to have that platonic level of friendship where you can
yeah.
like I
Um,
guess like if people are looking at it like, oh, are you too gay, then you've definitely got a good solid friendship going on there, and the people who are just saying shit like that can
yeah, my
fuck off.
family thought
Thank
my
you for the
best
host,
friend was my
Cronus.
boyfriend for so long, but
Rent is a musical focusing on the AIDS pandemic,
yeah,
telling
it's
different
good.
stories of
It's
different
good
LGBT
if I
people.
remember rightly.
It's a gay rite of passage, in my opinion. I've unfortunately never gone through this rite of passage. I'm afraid. Um. Okay, that'll be really interesting. I think we should probably check that out, Casper, because it sounds like we're missing out on some LGBT history here.
Yeah, I think we
Reckoning,
might be.
hi, how you doing? Um, I am playing Apex with you after we're doing that at 8, right? Um,
I've just cleaned my desk because again I didn't learn from my last mistake.
I've
I was
had to
playing with this.
explain to so many people that there are levels of love that transcend sexual or romantic attraction. Of course, 100%. There's I mean, asexuals exist for examples. Like that's one of many different aspects, but like you know, they asexuals still love. Asexuals still have very successful relationships, and still enjoy that like the romantic aspect. And even then you don't even have to have the romantic aspect. You can still love your friends. You can still tell your friends that you love them, still call your friends your brothers and your sisters, and still have that really deep meaningful connection with your friends and not go in that direction. The beauty of media is it can be interpreted by many people, of course. um yeah, I never expect my definition to fully align with everybody else's. Um, yeah, definitely for me, I get the vibes because I think I just see I relate to
Project
it.
onto them.
Yeah, I project myself onto the characters because I relate to it within my own life because I am bisexual and I am poly. So if when I see this love between, because I feel like there's got to be an argument as well for the fact that that there is a certain level of starvation for that kind of content for the LGBT community. Like I'm very sick of monogamous cis white straight relationships in movies, and that's not because I hate monogamous cis white straight people necessarily. It's because I've been overexposed to it my entire life. And as someone who is bisexual and as someone who is polyamorous, I just I just don't enjoy stories centered around the whole monogamous and straight white cis thing anymore as much. Like obviously I don't mind straight white cis monogamous characters in a thing that's about something completely different, but when a key part of the story relies on that relationship dynamic, I have seen it so many times that I'm kind of like, and I think maybe the reason I project myself so hard onto these characters and see them as maybe in this certain dynamic is because I kind of need that in my life to relate to somehow because I don't have it anywhere else. The only piece of polyamorous representation in media I have ever seen that's actually any good, and that's the main center of the stories, is a very obscure series that came out in 2020 called Trigonometry that hardly anyone I know has ever seen.
The storyline on Shameless US was incredibly good.
I've never seen
Obviously,
Shameless.
Shameless US is a comedy as well as a drama, so it's comical because the entire show is. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously, and that's why I like the entire show so much. And to start off with, the storyline's a bit odd. Like, there's this lady who comes from Russia. It's all ridiculous, but the entire show is. This lady comes from Russia and needs citizenship. So she moves into the pub with V and Kev, who are husband and wife. They've been together for years.
I suppose spoilers for
they are
this show.
arguable.
You've never seen it.
I mean, if you've never seen it, it's almost ending.
But
you're
I want to give a
late
spoiler
to the
warning
party.
for it, and I've never seen it myself, but I don't plan on, so carry on.
But yeah, Kev and V, who are the best relationship in the show, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise, are this couple who are like really, really in love. They've been married for quite a while, and their relationship's just so lovely. And this woman comes to work at the bar, this Russian lady, and she needs citizenship. So Kev's like, I'll marry you. So he gets married to I forgot her fucking name. I think it might be I've forgotten her name.
Right,
Oh
okay, go on, get on with the story.
So he gets married to her. And not long after that, they get drunk, and I think V and whatever the Russian lady is called start kissing, and they like fall in love. Like, genuinely fall in love, and they're like, shit, what we're gonna do? And then Kev comes home and finds them sleeping together. And they're like, fuck it, let's do it, let's be a throuple. And then for like a solid 2 seasons, they're just a throuple, and they just run the pub together. And they don't have a baby together, but the Russian lady is pregnant when they meet. That's why she needs citizenship. She wants to raise the baby in the US because it's safer than Russia.
Yeah.
Not by much, I imagine, in real life.
So
and it's just really nice. Like, it's healthy, apart from a few. Well, I think she turns out to be in the mafia.
Well, that's a whole other aspect. It is nice to see. I just don't have much of it that's positive. All of the poly rep I've seen is very all of the non-monogamous rap I see. Usually, it's about a character that is non-monogamous to start with, and then their story arc is quote-unquote fixing themselves so that they can then have a monogamous relationship because they're scared of commitment or whatever, which isn't accurate at all.
Which apparently the first season's good, and then it jumps the shark a bit.
I will get some messages in just a second, sorry, on this topic.
I have never bothered watching that because I've been told by so many people that it just gets unwatchable by season 2. So I've just not bothered, because I'm not going to watch a show that just is unwatchable after 1 season, because unless there is only 1 season of it, like, everything sucks.
What's the point of that? Everything Sucks was great. All right, before we get on to a whole separate topic here, I would like to read out some messages. So Slothy did say that the beauty of media is that it can be interpreted by many people, which we already discussed. And Kronos comes in with with agreeing with that, and says that we're happy here talking about it, which I'm glad that you're happy to be here and talking. That's kind of what this podcast is about, and I'm very glad that you're in chat. I love hearing what others take away from media that also took something that I also took something away from, and I think the only wrong answer you can have is if you took nothing from it. That's the ramble, if it made any sense, which does make sense, and I like that. I like that outlook. That is very, very cool. And I think one of the greatest parts of a lot of media is the fact that you can discuss it because you get a lot of new ideas. Also, you don't need to apologize for rambling in my chat. 1 second, Casper. You don't need to apologize for rambling in my chat, Kronos. I may not get to all the messages, just in case if the conversation moves on or the flow of the conversation goes elsewhere or whatever. I may not get to everything because I might not be able to bring it up, but I do still appreciate you adding to the discussion, and I will try and get to them as many of them as we can. Anyway, sorry, Casper, what are you saying? About the ability to discuss media.
Yeah, the good thing about TV and films in general is that no 2 people will ever have exactly the same takeaway from it. Like,
No. It's all down to personal life experience, I think. Um,
yeah, and
because, like, as
the
I
same with
said,
all
like,
media, like music as
yeah,
well.
exactly.
Like, nobody will ever view the same
Like, well, a
characters
big
or
one for music, actually, which is something I wanted to talk to you about, Casper, anyway, but it's relevant here, so I'll mention it now. The song, so Dodie, if anyone doesn't know Dodie, she is a musician that became largely popular through YouTube, and she's recently just got more and more popular to the point she's releasing, full albums and stuff, and she's
actual
on the
album.
radio. Yeah, exactly.
Yay!
Which is incredible, and she makes very good music. She's a lovely girl, and I really really adore her music. Anyway, but on the subject of like taking different stuff away from music, uh, the song "Special Girl"
Yeah,
is about childhood trauma and
yeah,
abuse,
and
which is something that you Casper, you saw that immediately,
yeah,
and it made you quite emotional and stuff. I think I'm okay to say that. And that's I didn't see it, and I think it speaks a lot to experiences within our individual lives as
yeah,
to how we see things. Because I listened to Special Girl and I didn't get as much from it, but then I look at the statistics for Dodie's new album, and Special Girl is played so many times.
yeah,
For me, it's not my favorite song on the album, but I really love the fact that so many people have been able to connect with that song and feel
yeah.
something from that song and
I
get something, get this sort of connected experience in this song that deals with quite a heavy topic.
Yeah, like the thing I like about this whole era of Dodie is that she did it with Guiltless as well. Guiltless is again about childhood trauma. She's had quite a
Hello,
traumatic
Maxim.
childhood, and by writing songs about it and creating things around it, she is taking charge of those experiences and not letting them rule her life anymore. And I think that's just really beautiful. And I've spoken to a lot of friends about this because I've told a lot of friends about my quite emotional response to Special Girl, and all of them who didn't experience quite traumatic things in their childhood, all said that they didn't, uh, that they didn't have that vibe from it on the first listen.
Hmm.
So I think it's one of them that if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And but if you don't, it's still a good song. Like it's still catchy. And
Mm-hmm.
she's got such a lovely way of reaching out to her audience in a
Yeah.
subtle way, like with She as well, which is about being in love with a girl when you're straight. She released
Yeah,
it before she
exactly.
came out. How the fuck did none of us know?
And for
Uh,
me, a song that connects a lot for me is oh fuck, what? I can't even remember the name of it, so obviously it didn't connect that well. Shit, I haven't listened to it in a while. Fuck, I can't remember the song name. The threesome song, Casper. You know the one I mean.
yeah,
What's it
which
called?
she has said in the middle.
In
Which
the
she
middle.
has
In the
said
middle.
isn't
Yeah.
based off
I
a
don't want.
real
I didn't want. I
experience. It's
hesitated to
based off a
call it the
dream she had.
threesome song. I only call it that because Dodie has said that it's about an imaginary threesome
Yeah,
that she was
yeah,
thinking about. I didn't want to
and
call it the threesome song because
and
it paints it in a bad light. I guess because there's a stigma there, but I just connect with it the most because it's less about like a threesome or a sexual thing. It's more about being in love with multiple people at the same time, which, as I said before, is something that I don't see a lot in the media I consume all the time. Um, and so when I do see it, I really connect with it and I really relate with it, and it becomes my
yeah.
a thing that I just adore,
And
which is real
it's
nice.
really weird, actually, now you said that, that because Dodie's persona before this album was a girl, like, her whole audience were, it still is, teenage girls, and her music was very much happy, upbeat teenage girl music. But she wrote a song about a threesome. Why did everybody view her as this child? it's really strange to me now you've said it. Like I haven't thought about it until just then. But she's always been writing about quite adult subjects. Not quite as adult as some of the not adult in the same way as some of the songs on Build a Problem. But she's always been writing about quite adult subjects. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
posted I posted something in the wrong place. The threesome song actually could be used to describe multiple songs I know, says Kronos
Yeah.
in the chat. If you please drop them in the chat if there's songs about being less about threesomes, I guess, but more about being in love with more than one person at a time. Just because I like having music that I can relate to. Right, sorry, Casper. What were you talking about?
I was talking about the persona of Dodie and how,
Yes.
for some reason, everybody viewed her as a little girl when she was singing about fucking threesomes. Like, it's so
Yeah, well,
weird.
it was always a weird thing. Like, you never expected, because I think it's how Dodie's persona is portrayed for a good number of years.
Since
she was
was
portrayed as like
she's been on YouTube since she was 16. She released She when she was 16, and she's now 27. So
yeah,
she's had
exactly, and
this
she's always been sort of this figure of kind of innocence and like
big round glasses and a ukulele.
yeah, exactly, and always like that kind of just that kind of that kind of wholesome vibe. And it's not to say that sex and sexuality isn't wholesome necessarily, but it doesn't get brought up in the same light. And for Dodie's recent album to be, a lot of the songs are based either around trauma or about sex. And
it's just
I think
really
that's wonderful
nice.
because she's just sharing these parts of her life with us as an audience to connect everybody. And it does connect everybody through the form of music. She definitely connects. I do adore Dodie's music. It's very, very nice, very, very good.
And I'm quite excited to see what the fan base is like when I go and see her in September, because I've seen her every time she's played in Manchester, ever. And I will probably continue that for as long as she tours, just because I want to say that I've seen her every tour. She's good live, but it's not the usual sort of gig I go to. I usually go to jumpy rock gigs. And Dodie's very... The last tour we went to, me and my friend Josh, we're both men, we were the oldest there by 5 years at least. And we got laughed at by some teenage girls for singing along. And I got actually quite self-conscious about it. Because they were like, oh, why would you come to a Dodie concert and sing if you've got a low voice? And it made me really self-conscious. That I'm not often self-conscious about my voice.
Yeah.
But I really was. And I'm really hoping that in September that the fan base has grown up slightly with her. That would be it would be really nice to see less judgmental girls there, really.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that Dodie's fucking 27. I watched their interview with Hazel Hayes, and they did definitely make the point of like they wanted to make that one song. What was it called? The recent one with the video.
You. Oh no!
I kissed someone and it wasn't you.
I kissed someone, it wasn't you.
They wanted to make that as sort of sexy as they possibly could, just because they were both kind of like Dodie's 27. Like everyone that's viewing her as sort of this innocent figure who just has never kissed anybody. Oh my god, how could you?
Yeah.
Then what? Get over it. Because there's so many facets to a human, and that's just it's that you cannot like put someone in this little box forever.
Yeah, like I did enjoy the era where she wore yellow a lot, and there was Dodie yellow, and there's a hole in my tooth and the dentist is shut and shit like that, and that I do really enjoy that music.
Like, but it's like, different eras and it's different.
But it's nice to see her taking control of her life and the experiences that have happened to her, and it's just nice to see. And she's proving to millions of people all over the world that you can move on and you can take control of traumatic experiences. And
Yeah.
I think that that's a very important message to send out to a young audience.
And I'm interested to see what content comes from her in the future as well, now that she is reaching out through this
Yeah,
medium to send this message of stuff that she's kind of hinted at before but never really seemed to have written about or spoken directly about, which
yeah,
I always think is good. And it's the same reason why I'm excited to see what Bo Burnham creates in the coming years, because before, when he was just doing stand-up shows and making himself so anxious he was throwing up and stuff, he
yeah,
never really spoke about anxiety and things like that. It was only ever a joke. And then after, I think, Happy, his live show Happy on
yeah.
Netflix, after
He
that,
wrote Eighth Grade.
he's written a couple of movies, but he's been very out about his anxiety
Anxiety
and his mental health. And
and his panic attacks. Like,
when artists and creators start actually like coming to terms with this about themselves and speaking out about it a lot, the things that they create from it are very, very powerful and speak to a lot of people.
subject of that, Dan Howell's book comes out next week, I think. I need to
Wow.
check that the pre-order has actually
That's
gone through.
that's an era, that's a time.
And it's called "You Will Get Through This Night" or something, and it's about depression. And Dan Howell he's over the past year or so, he's done a lot for mental health. Like he was talking at Student Pride this year. I didn't watch any of it. It was all online this year. I didn't watch any of it just because of the Dan and Phil stands in the fucking chat. It annoyed me within 5 seconds.
Fair.
But he spoke about mental health at Pride, and he actively has been encouraging, again, his young audience to go and get mental health help and to reach out for help and to speak about it. And he's written a quote unquote not self-help book about his struggles with mental health. So
Yeah.
and it's really interesting to see creators like him and people on YouTube. I know Tom's Cast speaks about mental health quite a lot as well. It's refreshing to see people speak out about it in a way that isn't shameful and isn't, oh, we don't talk about that openly because it's embarrassing. It's
Yeah.
nice. I hope that the generation below us that are teenagers now will have an adulthood where it's okay to cry on your best mate's shoulder.
Exactly. Right. I feel like that's a good note
That's a good note to end
wrap
on.
up on.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I do want to just say a quick thank you to everybody who has come along in the chat and showed support and added to the discussion. There are a couple of messages I didn't read out. We're not going to go too deep into them, but we've been recommended a show called Pose, which is about the
I've
trans
been
and
told
gay
to watch
community in
that.
New York fighting
It's
to exist
about
in the late 80s.
dancing, isn't it?
Which
Isn't it
apparently is
about
quite
dancing?
sad.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
one
read
of
your
my
name out there because I feel like it's a scam.
one of my trans friends, that is her favorite
But
film.
thank you for
favorite
following.
series.
But if you want streamers to read out your name there, you may want to change it because it makes it definitely sound like you're one of these sites that you get to that where you want people to buy followers. So I'm not going to read your name out there. Sorry. And also, Kronos Stampede did add an interesting point. It just didn't fit anywhere in the conversation. I'm waiting to see our first LGBT villain with the quote-unquote Black Manta syndrome. And Black Manta is apparently an Aquaman villain who wanted to go and make a place for people to escape bigotry, which is something that's also explored in Black Panther, I think, where the villain or anti-hero of the piece kind of wants to use the power of Wakanda to sort of take back the world because he's experienced a lot of racism and his people have been, downtrodden in society for a very long time.
It totally makes sense. I can see where he's coming from.
And I can definitely see where I'm coming from. And an LGBT version of that would also be quite interesting. It would be interesting to see how that kind of thing is dealt with, because it's not really, when you come into that kind of thing, it's not about the place being created that's the villainy. It's just how they go about it that's the villainy. Like, there are better ways to create safe places for people to go that don't involve wiping out an entire other group of people, which is where a lot of the villainy comes from. I'm not really going to go back into the rest of that, though. Silver the Shy, howdy, hello, welcome. I'm going to take a short break myself here, and then I will be back. I'm going to be playing some Apex Legends in about 20 minutes with Reckoning. So that's going to be fun. So if you enjoy a bit of that, if you enjoy a bit of gameplay, that'll be that. But this is the end of the podcast. So I'm going to go to my Be Right Back screen and be right back. And I'll be about 5 or 10 minutes, take a little break, come back in, sit and chat for a moment, and then get on and play some games. But thank you, Casper, for joining me for this and another wonderful podcast episode.